You already had it.
Hey, we have to do our breakfast.
I know.
You guys got everything under control down there? Good for you.
Were they pulling this
Good for
one or
you.
something?
Yeah. I asked for it to be pulled.
Rossi always does good in the
Yes,
contest.
they're
You know,
primary.
it's art, the art teacher.
All about the art teacher. Morning. Morning. We're about ready to get started, guys. Bill, you want to lead us to the flags this morning?
Sure. Farmersville.
Good morning. Welcome to our regularly scheduled Board of Supervisor meeting. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. If you would please rise and join us in the flag salute led by Supervisor Cox and remain standing for a moment of silence.
Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Take up the Board of Supervisor matters at this time, and we'll begin with Supervisor Vanderpool.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple things I wanted to go over. First of all, I did miss, today is kind of a Farm Bureau day with us honoring the calendar that we're getting. I did miss the annual Farm Bureau fundraiser, which was a great deal this weekend, but I was informed that I wasn't babysitting, I was being a parent. I got to have my son by myself for a full weekend, so he's going to be a year old next week, so that was a real fun time, but my apologies for missing the Farm Bureau event. Today at 2 o'clock there will be some sergeant and lieutenant promotions that are going to be taking place here in these board chambers for the Sheriff's Department, so my congratulations in advance to those who have been promoted. And then this afternoon there will also be a meeting with the High-Speed Rail Authority in an attempt to further resolve the various issues that have been taking place with local property owners. And that's all I wanted to mention this morning, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Fox.
I'll be brief as well. As chair of TCAG, been very busy welcoming in new members or new board members or alternate board members to the TCAG board. That's been very fun and productive, getting to speak with those folks and find out why they want to be on the board. Had a very good meeting yesterday, the unmet hearings need. Typically in the past, that's been one of the things that if you sit on the TCAG board, you dread going to those meetings because there are sometimes up to 50 or 60 people that want to complain about the transit that exists in this county. And I think it's a testimony to Measure R that yesterday we had 5 people that were there that had issues with the transit in Tulare County, and some of them were as simple as the bus is leaking oil and not being cleaned up quick enough. Or one gentleman wanted to have a seat removed so that he could have more room for his wheelchair. So the requests that I think that we received yesterday were more in line with what you would think you would have at a unmet transit needs hearing. So a very productive meeting yesterday, very well attended by all of the board members. But I think the highlight was that there are not a lot of unmet transit needs in the county anymore. Some of the folks that would like to see, 1 hour service in the unincorporated county, that's just not going to happen because there are not enough buses. But we have improved. We've almost tripled our ridership since Measure R. So very proud of that and very happy to see that we had very, very few folks that were unhappy with the service. And that's all I have.
Last Friday, I'm sorry.
There you go.
You know what I'm talking about.
Just going down the line here.
You can talk about that.
Last Saturday, Supervisor Ennis and I attended the Farm Bureau annual scholarship fundraiser, and it was a great event. Sorry that Pete had to babysit. He missed a great event. This Thursday at 12:30 through 2:30 in these chambers, the Sierra Nevada Conservancy is having a forum explaining how to apply in the grant requirements for watershed improvement in the Sierra Nevadas. So our region, our southern region of the Conservancy, will probably be allocated $2 million in the next 2 years for watershed projects to improve the quantity of water we get out of the mountains and reduce fire hazards. Last week I had a telephone conversation, and I will be the vice chair of the California Association of Supervisors on a water working group. So CSAC's taking this water issue extremely serious, and we will have that as a topic at our annual legislative meeting in Sacramento in May. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In fact, speaking of forest management, I know Supervisor Worthley has been telling us about the dead trees and stuff in the mountains. And so next week, I went by and talked to Kevin Elliott, who's the superintendent of the forest, Sierra Forest and Monument, and he'll be over to this meeting next week to bring us up to date on forest health and what's being done to promote our forests. Last Friday night, we had our mini summit in Porterville. It was a very good turnout. 425 people showed up. We also got a proclamation from Senator Andy Videk's office telling us what a great job that the Porterville area and the Step Up program is doing in Tulare County. So that was also very good. Yesterday, we had our first groundwater management plan meeting at Lower Tule. Mr. Dick Schaefer acted as the chairman there that day. So we had all the water districts. We had City of Porterville, people in the Tule River management plan to kind of voice their opinions and things and get the thing kicked off and started. And now I think we have over the next 2 years to work out some kind of a plan that will work for sustainable groundwater for our part of the area. Tomorrow morning I'll be speaking at the Sierra Sunrise Rotary. I'll be the speaker. Then at noon I'll be meeting with Eric Jennings, who is the captain and is over the forensic unit at the Porterville Developmental Center. So, and hopefully along with him I'll be able to meet with Lieutenant Godfrey from the local Highway Patrol office to kind of bring us up to speed on what's going there. So that's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Last Friday morning, Supervisor Ennis, Supervisor Ishida, and myself attended a meeting that was hosted by the Kings River Conservation District in Fresno. It was attended by also a county supervisor from Fresno, Buddy Mendez, a new supervisor, and representatives of all of our different elected officials. And it was, I would call it kind of a class 101 on water, where imported water comes from, talking about the California project and the federal project, I will just say one thing to you in terms of scope of the issue, and that is in the last big water year we had 4 years ago, 600,000 acre-feet of water were lost to the San Francisco Bay, just out of the Kings River watershed. And we have since then done a lot of projects to build recharge basins and so forth, which the goal is to try to capture some of that flood water so we can get it into our groundwater to improve our groundwater situation. And I asked them, I said, well, of those projects that have been accomplished since that last big water year, how much of that 600,000 acre-feet of water would we be able to capture today? And the answer was 20,000 acre-feet. So it just goes to show you the opportunity, for one, to do a whole lot more because, again, nobody's going to capture all 600,000 acre-feet of water. In a flood, it's a flood, right? So you can't stop everything. But we have a lot of opportunity to capture a lot more water in those years to help our water balance situation. I thought that was really interesting. Last night I went to a meeting up in the mountains related to tree mortality. And this is at Pinehurst, which is in Fresno County, right on the edge of Tulare County. And we had Forest Service, CAL FIRE, private industry represented by the forester for Sierra Forest Products, PG&E, and the Park Service, talking about tree mortality. If you've not been up in the Sierra Nevada anytime recently, I would encourage you to go. It is estimated that 20% of the pine forest is now dead. Very likely this summer it will double. This is unprecedented in terms of our forest. It's not unprecedented elsewhere because there was a very similar issue happened in Lake Arrowhead in Southern California probably 5 or 6 years ago now. But it's unprecedented in the Sierra Nevada. In my mind, the scope of this makes the Rim Fire, which was the largest forest fire in modern times, which happened last year, small. Because the Rim Fire was contained to 250,000 acres. This is something which spreads particularly from the Stanislaus south, but apparently up and down the entire Sierra Nevada mountain range. And what was of great, first off, good news is that Sierra Forest Products is being a very good neighbor to private property owners. And their forester is ready, willing, and able to come to any private property owner that has timber that's dying or dead and prepare an emergency notice and work with the loggers that are available to get those trees off of private property. And they are very optimistic they'll be able to access and get to most of the private land. Now, bad news. The biggest property owner in the Sierra Nevada in our area is Sequoia National Forest, 1.1 million acres. And what I heard last night, and I'm very anxious to, I'm so happy we're having the supervisor from the forest come next week. But what I heard last night was business as usual. That they're going to remove those trees which are in danger of falling on campgrounds, on roads. But the forest supervisor was very specific. She said, we will remove those trees, but they have to have a target. In other words, we're just not going to remove dead trees unless it's going to fall on somebody or on something that's identified. And I asked them, I said, are the giant sequoia groves considered a target? Well, we hadn't thought about that. In the last forest fire, at the Rim Fire, 2 major efforts were made to protect assets during that fire. One was the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir watershed, which provides drinking water for San Francisco, and the other was the giant sequoia grove. Extraordinary efforts were made to try to protect those. I see nothing of the kind being done on Sequoia National Forest. I don't blame the forest, but the thing is we've got to elevate this because this is a major, major issue. And it needs to be treated seriously, and I just don't know that it's getting that kind of serious attention. That's why I want all of us to become engaged and do what we can to promote it, because something's got to be done, and it's got to be done very quickly. Okay, I got my soapbox. Sorry it took so long. That will conclude the supervisor's matters for this morning, and we will now take up a more fun type of thing, but it's also bittersweet. Whenever we lose good employees of long-standing, we wish them well, but we hate to see them go. And so first, we'd like to recognize Joseph De La Rose upon his retirement from the probation department for his many years of county service. And Joseph and I have a little bit of a connection because I can remember when I was a young practicing attorney, he was a young practicing probation officer. And now he's moving on. So I believe that Christy Meyer was going to make a few comments this morning. Morning, Christy.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Rousseau and Ms. Bales-Lang. It is with some sense of bittersweetness that I'm standing here to announce the retirement of Joseph Edward DeRose. Got that middle name right. I have had the pleasure with working with Joe for over 30 years, starting in the days when he was housed at the old Glenelg Moran Juvenile Hall. Interesting facility. Through placement where I was his supervisor and currently in his capacity as a background investigator in administration. Joe is truly a remarkable individual and has been a wonderful employee. He is one of those individuals who brought joy and laughter to the workplace every day he came to work. And he has been working as long as Supervisor Vanderpool has been born.
I'm glad you said that.
Just get the words right out of my mouth.
And he still has hair, so that is a really nice thing about the probation department. Joe, in addition to being really a tireless and uncomplaining employee, who never caused me or the department any problems once we rid him of his bad habit of those blonde jokes that he used to tell. He's also been actively involved in Shave the Brave activities on behalf of the department for the county. And every year I could look forward to that Monday morning when I would come into work and see Joe's rather odd bald head. So again, he's been an absolute pleasure to work with, and we are going to miss a very, very valuable employee.
Michelle will open the door so you can come in. I have the highest honor that the county can present to our long-term employees, and that's the county seal, also known as the giant coaster. This is presented to Joseph E. DeRose, Probation Officer 3, in appreciation of your years of service and dedication. I guess we could have said decades. To the community and to Tulare County, December 4th, 1977 to March 20th of 2015. Congratulations, Joe. Here's your last chance. And you can do
I think you want to tell a joke.
I can say what I want about her? No, it really has been a pleasure to work for the department this many years and stuff. And like I've told Christy, a lot of great memories and worked with a lot of great coworkers and with probationers. It really makes you feel good when you can see these guys making positive changes. So, again, thank you very much.
Next, we would like to recognize Julia Roberts, Chief Deputy County Counsel, and Harold Wood, Chief Deputy County Counsel, upon their retirement of many years of county service. And I believe our county counsel wants to come down and make a few comments on their behalf.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of your board, Mr. Rousseau. I really don't want to be here making these comments, but I've been informed that I just have to accept reality, and they are actually going to retire. Harold and Joe, you want to step up?
Yes.
Okay, just do it anyway. They don't want to step up. Harold Wood, on my left, is the Chief Deputy for the schools team. He's not a deputy that you all see very often because schools doesn't come to your attention. Julia Roberts, on the other hand, you've been used to seeing on a weekly basis for many years. She's the chief deputy of the resource team. And she obviously dealt with something near and dear to your hearts the whole way through, and that would have been the general plan. I'm going to discuss Harold first because, as he constantly reminds the two of us, he is the senior attorney. Harold came in February of 1985, and Julia came in March of 1985, the notable year in which Supervisor Vanderpool was born.
Actually, it was 84, so they not quite.
So, that makes them feel old. As I said, Harold has been with the county for 30 years. He has worked diligently the entire time in the schools team, first as a deputy, then later as a senior deputy and attorney 5, and then finally being promoted to the position of chief deputy. Now, I often say about you all, it's hard to have 5 bosses. Harold has been managing the schools consortium agreement, which is administered on the administrative side by Superintendent Jim Vidak and his staff at the Office of Education, but provisions on the legal side were coordinated by Harold, and he's always had, depending on the year, somewhere between 45 and 50 bosses. So he's had a number of school districts that he's had to make sure got adequate legal services. The benefit, of course, is that we can provide the same information at a much lower cost to all the school districts rather than having them go without legal advice altogether or each of them hire outside counsel. He is, on the professional side, Harold has the honor of having established through the 5th District Court of Appeal a standard for evaluating the rights to student-free speech, which still stands as good law. He was the first in our office to have the internet. He may have been the first in the county to have the internet. Again, Mr. Vidak, who was a little ahead, generously provided the schools team with internet service through their internet server. So for many years, their address was not Tulare County, it was the Office of Education. Harold was the first person to bring forward the idea of having an office web page. As far as I know, we were the first department to establish an office web page for clients. And it was initially set up just for the schools team. And then the rest of us looked at it and thought, hey, this is pretty cool. Maybe we should do this for the county clients as well. So we played catch up. And during all of these processes, Harold has been our tech expert. He has been the one that we all turn to when we're in a meeting and they're talking about technical things. And we turn to Harold and raise our eyebrows because none of the rest of us know what they're talking about. In fact, Lee Root of IT says he just loves to talk with Harold because they can, these are Lee's words, geek out. When they do talk, they eventually enter into a level of conversation that no one understands except them. So Harold has been shepherding us into the 21st century, not only with the internet access and the use of that, the internet web page, or the internet web page, and other innovations, but also assisting us with the tools that we use in our office, which are all technological now. I was raised with books, so was Harold. I still need the books. Harold does not. And he's helped us with many, many projects of that nature, most recently with an upgrade to the system that we live and die with in our office, ProLaw, and our upgrade to ProLaw 2014, which was actually just completed with the assistance of Megan Flynn, who's sitting right over there, and the IT department. In his off time, Harold travels frequently. For example, he's been a number of times to France. The first time that he went to France, He and his wife went to COS for a quarter to learn how to speak French. And he's traveled extensively. He is the administrator of the official John Muir webpage regarding John Muir, and in fact has been interviewed by international television teams up in the woods regarding John Muir. He is, in addition to being an expert on geek speak, he is the go-to guy for John Muir and his accomplishments regarding the national parks, and particularly Sequoia Forest. And lastly, but definitely not least, he administers a web page in honor of the Limelighters. Now, Supervisor Vanderpool won't know what that means because, they're not a current group. But when some of us were younger, they were a singing group. Are any of them still alive?
Folk music, yeah, they're still running. They're still going.
They're still around.
Different people.
They popularized folk music, and if you want CDs, see Harold.
I guess we know what he's going to do in a retirement life.
Yes, Harold is staying with us in Tulare County in his retirement. So I feel very mixed feelings and a lot of sadness with Harold retiring, but at least I know where I can go get him. Now let's talk about Ms. Roberts. Julia Roberts came to us in March of 1985. She came to us from the Miami City Attorney's Office. And, Miami, Florida, yes. Are there other Miami? Okay. I'm sorry. Miami, Florida City Attorney's Office. She went to law school there at what I understand is popularly known as Suntan U, and then went to work in the City Attorney's Office. And she and her now husband relocated to the West Coast, and she wanted to do municipal work. So she came and interviewed with our office. And her only request was that she not be given litigation to do. Because when she goes to court, every time she has to go somewhere and throw up first. Still. And I think it's
She's
ironic.
telling you right now, this is just too much information.
Considering her initial request, which of course she was promised would be honored, I think it's ironic that she has been spearheading the longest litigation project that this county has ever seen, the general plan and resulting litigation, which began in the year 2000. That's the file number starts with the numbers 2000 to show when it was initiated, when Supervisor Vanderpool was only 15. And I think probably her greatest accomplishment as chief deputy for the resource team, I'm sure she would say, is finally putting that to bed before she retired. Many years ago, when we were first starting, Supervisor Worthley, the then chairman and chairman again now, and has been chairman in between, called and said, I really would like Julia Roberts to head up this project. And of course I said, sure. And she did. And it's been an interesting project for her, I'm sure. In addition, she has led a group of attorneys, I think the largest group in the office, and they're all here. Harold's team is much smaller. They're here. Harold's team consists of himself and 3 people. Julia's team consists of herself and 9 people? 6 people. Oh, 7. 6 or 7 people. Attorneys and paralegals. In addition to that accomplishment, of course, she has managed a great deal of work, the general county business work of the county, and has done that beautifully well. And in addition to that, while Harold has served me as the tech expert, Julia is the diplomat. When I write an email and stop and think, perhaps this is not the best thing to send, I call Julia in and I have her look at it, and she sits down and she just, might want to reword it a little bit. And it says the same thing, but it says it so nicely. Now, Julia is planning to relocate to her home state of Illinois. As she's been with us, she has traveled extensively throughout the United States, and we're fortunate her husband, Chuck Colrodin, is a photographer and has photographed their various travels, also beautiful scenes within Tulare County. We're in the process of we're negotiating with Ms. Roberts a conditional gift agreement whereby he is going to leave with us these beautiful paintings that have decorated the office for many years. I'm sorry, they look like paintings, they're photographs, so that we can keep them, to help us remember Julia by, and also to make the office prettier at no cost to us. And finally, I want to mention that Julia was given what I consider to be an extreme honor, like being the most valuable player on a sports team. She was nominated and selected by her peers only. I don't participate in the process, as the Employee of the Year. She's wearing a little pin that you probably can't see, but all the Employees of the Year now get a Tulare County Council Employee of the Year pin, and she's proudly wearing it. So this Friday, 60 years of experience is going to walk out of my office and our lives, and I know we wish them very, very well.
I would be remiss if I did not point out that our Superintendent of Education here, Jim Vidak, is in the room today. I'm sure here to offer his good wishes to you both. So I have the two plaques, the two tablets, I feel like Moses, presented to Harold W. Wood, Jr., Chief Deputy County Counsel, in appreciation of your years and decades of service, dedication to the community in Tulare County, February 3rd, 1985 to March 20th of 2015. Harold, congratulations. And then Julia Roberts, who, of course, I've had a close association with because of the general plan and my appreciation, my own personal appreciation. At the time when we were looking at retaining someone outside the county to deal with litigation over the general plan, I told Kathleen, I said, if we hire somebody outside, we're going to spend a fortune bringing them up to speed about something which Julia Roberts already knows every bit of it in her own head. And I think it was one of the better decisions we ever made. So, Julia, my thanks to you. You have always been a great mentor to the board and apparently to your boss. I hope she has somebody else in mind to do your role in the future, but in appreciation for your years of service and dedication to the community in Tulare County, March 10th of 1985 to March 20th of 2015, congratulations to you. Jim, did you want to say a few words while you're here? No, he's just here observing. I want to give both of the attorneys an opportunity. You don't have to speak as long as your boss, but you're welcome to say a few words to the members and to the board.
I guess the only thing I wanted to mention was my immense gratitude for Kathleen Bales-Lang for being such a great supervisor all these years. I was hired by Lita Blattner, her predecessor, and worked for her for a number of years, and she was also a terrific boss. So, the HRD sent out a exit interview. They do that to all the employees that leave. So I filled that out yesterday, and I just said being a deputy county counsel is the best job you could possibly have in the world, and we have such a great community in our, it's a law firm. It's a public law firm. It's just, I have a great gratitude for Kathleen and all the staff that have been so helpful with each other. We have a real team-based philosophy, and everyone helps everyone else, and that's why I think that we've been able to provide such good service to everyone. Thank you.
Okay, Harold said that much better than I'm going to be able to say that, but I second what Harold said. I've lived in Tulare County now for 30 years. I came from Illinois, went to Chicago for several years, then I went to Miami for 10 years, and then we caravanned across country, I mean literally, with a car with a trailer hitched on the back, and it said California or bust, and someone said, don't limit your opportunities, take off the or bust. We made it to California, and it was a February that I came up, and we drove from Long Beach up through Kern County. After we left Bakersfield, we were saying, gosh, this is going to be a practice interview. This is going to be a practice interview. Then we got to Tulare, and we got into Visalia, and there were those freaking mountains right there, and it was, well, if we get this interview, maybe we'll stay, if they hired me. I interviewed on a Monday, they called me on a Tuesday. I came, I think, 2 or 3 weeks later. But it was gorgeous. We've loved Tulare County. My husband and I have explored, I believe, every corner of Tulare County, from Alpine and Allensworth. Of course, right now I'm living in Fresno, so I pass, Riverland and the northwest corner every day. But we've been on Sand Creek Road, 198 up into the mountains. We've been on 190 all the way through Kennedy Meadows back into Inyo County. We've explored every corner of Tulare County. I can remember fording on the road and fording creeks, no bridge. We're on rocks, fording the creek, going down Old Stagecoach Road out of Lindsay. These are memories that I'm going to take with me wherever I go, because Tulare County's been my second home, and I'm really going to miss it. Okay. One last bit. Not only has Tulare County been my second home, the Tulare County employees have been my second family. And I don't know what I would do without any of them, because they've all been the sweetest, kindest people to me, and I can only hope that I served them as well as they did me. And so we're going to miss you all, and at that point, I'm going to stop. Thank you.
We're going to have to start issuing tissue papers when people come in. Thank you. And at this time, we will move to item 4, which is a presentation of the annual National Ag Week Calendar Art Contest, something which we look forward to every year, and recognizing March 16th through the 22nd, 2015, as National Ag Week. Good morning.
Good morning. Drop this off with the kiddos.
Michelle.
As you can tell, I need assistance with many things.
Good morning. I'm Tricia Stever-Blattler, the Executive Director of the Tulare County Farm Bureau, and it's always a pleasure to be before you today. Before we get to the big presentation with the children, we have a few remarks and I believe the proclamation to present. So let me just preface that by saying that National Agriculture Week is celebrated each year to coincide with the arrival of spring, and it provides us with the opportunity to recognize the producers of food, fiber, flowers, forests, and fish. Less than 1% of our population is involved in farming and ranching, but this small group feeds our nation as well as many others around the world. Here in the United States, we are blessed with a safe, reliable, and abundant year-round supply of food, and we spend less per capita on food than any country around the world. I'd like to introduce our County Farm Bureau President, Joey Aroso, a local dairy producer and farmer, to receive the proclamation from our chairman.
Well, Mr. Rosso, we thank you for being here today, and it's my privilege to read this proclamation declaring March 16th to the 22nd as the National Agriculture Week in Tulare County. Whereas Tulare County total gross agricultural production in 2013 was $7.8 billion, Tulare County claims $45 million crops, or crops that totaled in excess of $1 million on crop value in the county. The county produces more than 120 agricultural commodities. And whereas milk has a total gross value of $2 billion, with milk and milk products representing 26% of the county's total receipts for 2013, and Tulare County produces more than 20% of the state's total milk production. I tell people when they ask me about Tulare County, I say, well, we have twice as many cows as we have people. It's true. Whereas grapes are the second largest crop with $984 million in production, and oranges, the third largest crop with $854 million in production, with nearly half the orange crop being exported overseas, if the ports are open. Tulare County beef and dairy industries produce cattle and calves, ranking as the fourth largest valued crop at $687 million. Tulare County's fruit and nut crops total $4 billion in gross value. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tulare County Board of Supervisors do hereby declare March 17, 2015 as National Agricultural Week and March 16th through the 22nd National Agricultural Week in Tulare County to celebrate the achievements of the men and women who work throughout the year in the agricultural industry. Signed, Alan Nishida, Pete Vanderpool, Phil Cox, Steve Worthley, and Mike Ennis. Congratulations. Oh, one more. Posterity.
Well, I think we are truly blessed to live in Tulare County. And as Trish said, the world truly does rely on Tulare County for its food supply. I've had the opportunity to travel to different countries, and everybody has a deep respect for what California does with all the diversity of agricultural products that we produce here. And I think what makes Tulare County great is the people. You look at the three individuals that are retiring today, they're dedicated to the county. They're dedicated to what the county does. And I've actually had the pleasure to work with Julia on a matter that Arosa Dairy and Tulare County were involved in. And, I think Tulare County and agriculture and the Farm Bureau, our plight is to make sure that we all know that we're joined at the hip, and we all need to take, we're all using these hands to produce products. Whether you're out on the farm produce them, or if you're working at the county office, there's a role for everybody to play, and I think the world does count on us. I think when you look at this calendar, 750 kids submitted pictures, and I'd like to congratulate all those kids that took the time and the effort to appreciate the products that we grow in this county. Just beautiful artwork, and sad to say, but I can't draw. I have no artistic ability, so these pictures are amazing when you consider the ages of the kids that are drawing them. And I think this just shows the passion that the future has in Tulare County, and that's what will make us great forever. Thank you.
With the arrival of spring and National Agriculture Week to serve as the backdrop for our annual calendar art contest, the Tulare County Farm Bureau, in partnership with the Tulare County Office of Education, conduct this annual calendar art contest for elementary and high school students throughout the county. I would like to extend special thanks to Jim Vidak, our County Superintendent of Schools. Jim still with us?
Yes, he is.
Jim? I would like to thank the superintendent for his ongoing support of this particular project, which brings agriculture into the classroom in such a creative and colorful format. Mr. Vidak brought this program to the Farm Bureau many years ago in the form of a bumper sticker contest. And I also want to say thank you to Rob Herman and the many dedicated Farm Bureau members, volunteers, and county staff, and the Education Committee of the Farm Bureau, who volunteer their time in organizing this contest. As our president mentioned, we had over 750 entries from over 30 different schools, including public, private, and home schools. Our overall winner today will receive a $50 cash award. The other 13 winners will receive a $25 cash prize, along with supervisors' certificates awarded here today. In addition, this calendar features a category of honorable mentions, which provides another 24 students with recognition in the contest. And every single student, all 750 who provided a submission to the contest, will receive a ribbon for their participation, which will be mailed to their schools and teachers to distribute. This year, in honor of National Agriculture Week, we also wanted to share with the audience some packets of locally grown almonds. Those have been shared in the crowd, and there's some left in the basket here if anyone would like some. And we will have extra calendars. There'll be some in the back of the room at the end of today, and there will be more at the County Office of Education and at the Tulare County Farm Bureau office. So please don't hesitate to check back with us if your family, students, teachers, or those of you here at the dais need more calendars. So it is now my pleasure to announce the winners of this year's calendar art contest. We'll have each child come forth individually, one by one. We do this in order of the Board of Supervisors districts. So I will start by calling up Supervisor Alan Ashita, and our first recipient is going to be Adriana Barajas, a second grader at George Snowden School in Farmersville. We'll have each student pose with their supervisor for a photograph, and then afterwards we will also take pictures outside as a group, okay? Congratulations. We also have Isaiah Garcia, grade 3 from George Snowden School in Farmersville. Congratulations. Next, we have Nathaniel Rodriguez, a second grader, also from George Snowden School in Farmersville. And we have Demesio Zaragoza from 5th grade at Strathmore Middle School. Next, from District 2, Supervisor Vanderpool, please join us. Our first winner is Nina Serta, grade 6 from Cherry Avenue School in Tulare. District 3, Supervisor Phil Cox. Our next winner is Calissa Butler Journey, 4th grade from Sycamore Valley Academy in Visalia. And once again, Supervisor Worthley gets to have all the bragging rights. There's a lot of talented kids in the north part of the county. So our next winner starts a list from Orosi. We have Gabriella Adame, an 11th grader from Orosi High School. Next, we have Katricia Alvarez, a third grader from John F. Kennedy Elementary School in Dinuba. Next, we have Karina Arinives, an 11th grader at Arosi High School.
That's pretty good.
Next, Francisco Fernandez, a 12th grader at Arosi High School. We also have Jessica Austria, grade 12 from Arosi High School. Next, we'll invite up Supervisor Innes for District 5. We have Alyssa Boyd, an 8th grader at California Hot Springs, attending Hot Springs Elementary. I think Alyssa gets the award for traveling the farthest to be here today. I think upwards of an hour and a half from that part of the county to get here. And we have Michaela Grace Osman, grade 11, from Summit Charter Collegiate Academy in Porterville. And our overall winner this year, back in District 4, Supervisor Worthley has rejoined us to award the overall cover prize this year to Jeanette Madrigal, grade 11 from Arosi High School. This concludes our presentation today. Once again, we just want to remind our families and students that we're going to go outside and take some photos, so please join us out on the outside steps.
Before you leave, usually we give the board members a chance to say a few words to you, and so I don't want to break with tradition at this time. Thank you, Tricia, for the good work of the Farm Bureau in this matter. And I'll start with Mr. Vanderpool on my left.
Well, first of all, I just want to say congratulations to all 750 entries. I really appreciate everyone taking the opportunity to submit a piece of art for consideration. I want to thank all the teachers, especially that participate in this program. It really takes the initiative of a teacher to educate their students and to make this a part of their curriculum in the schools. And I want to thank the Office of Education and all the different partners, because ag education is so important to the youth of our county and our country. A lot of people think that agriculture is going to be a forgotten art and a forgotten lifestyle, but if we continue with programs like this and all the great people that we have in our county continuing to support agriculture in all different arenas, agriculture will continue, it will persist, and as long as we can get some water, agriculture will stay Tulare County's lifeblood, and we will be the #1 ag county. So I really appreciate all the great work. Congratulations to all the winners, and thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Budget Cox.
Like Supervisor Vanderpool, congratulations to all the students who participated. I'll mention Mr. Jim Vidak by name. He makes so many wonderful things in facilitating and helping give access to the schools. Without that access, things like this would be hard to do. So thank you, Mr. Vidak, for your commitment to the program, and actually your starting this program many years ago. Congratulations to the Farm Bureau. What a wonderful thing you do to help recognize the talents of our youth in Tulare County, and we are very blessed to have so many wonderful, talented youth. So thank you.
I want to congratulate everybody who participated in this program. I think every year the art gets even better. 2 weeks ago, I was in the Capitol in Sacramento, and they had a display of basically agriculture. They had a cutout of cows. Half of them looked like dogs, but and they had other agricultural art displays by students. But this is so much superior quality than I've seen in a long time, and I want to congratulate everybody that participated, and especially the winners. Thank you.
Supervisor Ennis?
Yeah, I'd also like to just congratulate everybody. It must have been a very difficult thing to have 700 and some entries in this, and to be able to judge it down to this many. Has to be a very difficult chore for people. So what a lot of talent out there. Congratulations to all the winners. You're all winners as far as I'm concerned. But thanks to the schools that participated, Mr. Vidak, Farm Bureau, all of you for a great job. And this is always something I look forward to every year, to hang this in my office. So thank you so much.
Well, I guess I get the final word. I just want to say tradition is a wonderful thing. And I know we have fine, young, budding artists throughout the county, but District 4, in all the years I've been on the board, has I think, had hands down the greatest number of award recipients. And I know that's because of the traditions of the school districts, particularly in Cutler-Rossi, of the art teacher who's there and promoting this opportunity of creativity and presentation. So I definitely want to thank the art teachers, the superintendents and principals who promote this within Tulare County, and the parents who support their children. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us to call attention to the greatest human endeavor, which is the growing of food and fiber for feeding the world. So thank you for being here this morning, and have a great day. This is an action item, so I do need to have a motion and a second.
Move approval.
A motion by Mr. Ishida, seconded by Mr. Vanderpool. All in favor, please cast your votes. The votes are unanimous. And that will now take us to our public comment period. Anyone wishing to address us on matters which are not within today's agenda but are within our jurisdiction are invited to come forward at this time. I do have the name of Jared Pugh. Mr. Pugh, if you'd like to come forward.
Certainly.
I have 3 minutes. That one's fine. Either one
Thank
works.
you so much. All right. Good morning. Greetings, esteemed members of the board. I stand before you today of my own agency as a native son of Tulare County. Unfortunately, my time is limited, but wouldn't it be fun if we could sit down and have a gentleman's discussion about that meeting in September? We could reminisce about Michael Washam's botched report that gave the wrong coordinates for the mine, which a simple call to the California Office of Mining Reclamation clearly shows as being a half mile to the west, as we insisted. And with that foundation of the county's argument deemed baseless, we could then talk about how due process was denied, as numerous members of the board did not recuse themselves from the proceedings, despite brandishing blatant conflicts of interest both publicly and privately. We could discuss how the ruling resulted in substantial damages to my business that involve interstate commerce, but here I go burning through my time. Rather than share facts that are stranger than fiction, let me instead use our time to discuss the tenets of mining under exemption and the future of our business. I would like to direct the board's attention to Section 2714D of the Surface Mining and Reclamation Act, known as SMARA. Supervisor Ennis has stated on numerous occasions that, quote, everyone he knows you need a permit, end quote. This is an astute observation from my supervisor, but the truth resists simplicity. While it is true that to perform extensive mining on a property, a permit is required, there are clear exceptions. SMARA Section 2714 states that an exemption is granted when, quote, prospecting for or the extraction of minerals for commercial purposes where the removal of overburden or mineral products totals less than 1,000 cubic yards in any one location. This exemption is echoed by the RMA mining permit application and County Ordinance Section 725-1090, which states, quote, the provisions of this chapter are not applicable to those activities and operations which are exempted by Sections 2714 and 2776 of the Act SMARA. We, the mineral rights owners of the Sears Clay deposit, are victims of a consistent lack of respect and dignity. Before the meeting in September, the county gave us 4 days to review their over 130-page dissertation, which was the first time the county released many of those papers. Even more damning is a recent email correspondent with RMA's own Michael Washam, where he admitted that he was unaware an exemption for mining even existed. This lack of compassion and insight is indicative of the level of county attention afforded to our productive economic interests. Despite these setbacks, our business continues to grow under the shield of these exemptions. We will be pursuing legal action to clean the title, which includes the 1948 opening of the underground adit and the correcting the current mine owner and mine operator. As we move forward, I am interested in sitting down with the proper parties and straightening out these inconsistencies as we move forward with the permitting process. Based on the information from the State Department and the facts that clearly point out factual errors from the past employees and reporting to the state, I would ask that the board reverse their decision from September 2014 and revisit these efforts. I emphatically state that I hold no ill will towards any of the individuals referenced today and merely wish to conduct my business fair and equitably. We fully intend to mine the adit under exemption and look forward to the day that this board recognizes the value that our project would mean to the local economy. I thank you for your time, and may God bless you until we meet again.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address us? Good morning. Good morning. You give us your name and address, Yolanda.
Yes, Yolanda Valdez. I'm Superintendent Cutler Rossi Joint Unified School District. Address 12623 Avenue 416, Orosi, California. I wanted to just come up here and thank the Board of Supervisors for the mindful placement of our law enforcement support in Cutler, Orosi. We have a fabulous young man by the name of Javier Gomez who leads our great program. And in pulling the data over the last couple of years that he's been in place, our discipline has decreased, our suspensions and expulsions have decreased, and partly is because he's of the proactive nature and education in respects to gangs and violence in the community. And he's a hometown boy, and that's why I say I want to thank you for the mindful placement of Javier Gomez there in Cutler, Orosi. Kids really identify with him, and we have data that shows that what he's doing is working. Also, Chris George, our campus-based officer, he has been an awesome asset to our district. He works as a strong team member, and he's assertive, and I want to thank. And all this under the direction of Lieutenant Franks. I met with him as a new superintendent, and I asked him to, I basically asked him the kind of resource officer we needed, and then he placed Chris George there, and I want to thank you for that. And lastly, Mike Bordeaux. We had a shooting a few weeks ago in our community, and he took the time to come out and meet with our educators, many of our principals, myself, and I want to thank him for his time to do that. And I want to give you some letters that came from many of our parents in respects to our lack of parks in our community and the upkeep of our one and only park at Ledbetter Park. I know Steve Worthy and I have already had a conversation about this. And I would just ask the Board of Supervisors to take a real strong look at probably the highest populated unincorporated community, which is Cutler, Orosi, over 15,000 people there. And some of the services that we lack and need in respects to an amenity such as having a place where kids can go play. There are some things that we can do in collaboration with the school district, and I invite you to have a conversation with me in respects to that. But I want to hand you these letters from parents, several parents that would like you to attend to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yolanda. We will certainly pass on the word to Sheriff Boudreau about the good work that he's doing out there. Anyone else wishing to address us during public comment period? Yes, sir. Can you give us your name and address, please?
My name is Timothy Hamilton from Exeter. This year, 2015, marks the third year that I've been attempting to bring to your attention the lack of integrity of Tulare County. The District Attorney, Tulare County Sheriff's Department, Tulare County Grand Jury, and up until now, you, the members of the Board of Supervisors, have decided that no action is intended. As you are aware, I have written and published my memoirs in a fictional novel entitled Stabbed in the Eye, Integrity. It's a novel highly critical of its administration. Superior Court Judge, as the Board Supervisor, you take an oath to give Superior Court Judge to follow professional ethics. I've proven my allegations of abuse of power and perjury by the County of Tulare. The amount of compensation for reimbursement for injury sustained by me has already been brought to your attention. Now you, the Board, have come to a junction. It is splitting into two pathways. Pathway number one, continue to ignore me as the public is being more made aware of your actions. Or pathway number two, you, sitting as a board, can acknowledge my allegations, bring those responsible to justice, and discuss a remedy to mend my diagnosed injuries. Any further delays will result in my mention of them in my sequel, Stabbed in the Other Eye, which is due out about this September. Is there any questions or comments from the board?
The board does not normally engage in conversation during public comment period. We just receive your public comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else wishing to address during public comment? Seeing no one, we will close the public comment period, and we'll take up the consent calendar at this time before we move to our timed item. We need to take for separate discussion and action items 11 and 15. Are there any other items members of the board wish to handle separately?
No, I don't want to handle it separately, but I do want to bring to the attention the 224 bridge that's being put on Deer Creek, which has been long anticipated, and so. But no, I don't want to prolong.
All right. Anything else? Anything for the
A
public?
motion to approve balance and consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Cox, seconded by Supervisor Ennis. Please cast your votes. And the votes are unanimous. Take up item 11.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. John Hess, County Administrative Office. The item 11 is a request to extend our current 6-month extension for the conditional acceptance of SB 1022 funds. As we know, the state has reduced the funding preliminarily, and we want to explore options of bringing additional funds into the project or possible scope reductions. Oh, sorry about that. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments?
I just want to make the comment that I was glad to see this pulled from the consent calendar. I think it's important to make sure that we're very public, and this is something that's very obvious to the public what the county's doing here to make sure that we're fully making use of our opportunities of funding to construct necessary jail facilities within the county. So thanks for presenting this separately, and if there's no further question or comment, I move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Motion.
Second.
Supervisor Vanderpool, second by Supervisor Ennis. Please cast your votes. Those are unanimous. Thank you, John. Item number 15 is an agreement with Odell Engineering concerning the Early Mart Neighborhood Park project. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. CAO, Council. Mike Spada, RMA. The matter before you is a proposed agreement for landscape architectural services for the Early Mart Neighborhood Park project in the amount of $137,900 for the successful firm of Odell Engineering. In a larger sense, this agenda item is both an opportunity and a commitment. It is an opportunity to meet the community and school district priorities, which is to get a park built in the Early Mart area. It is also a commitment, after going through this process, that we have a candidate, if approved, who is committed to getting this project done way ahead of schedule. The completion date, as indicated in the state contract, is 2019. As indicated in a proposed schedule that is before you, prepared by the candidate, it is expected that completion of this park will be in the fall of 2016. So with that matter before you, I believe that we are at a stage where we are ready to go to get this project completed. We have an action team in place. I can also say that there was a very collaborative process in selecting the recommended candidate, in the sense that we had school district representatives on the interview panel. It was a unanimous decision, and we are very excited that we have an action team in place that will get this project done. Thank you.
Questions? Mr. Van Poel?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure this item was pulled for separate consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a huge project for the community of Early Mart, and I know that there have obviously there's a huge need in our unincorporated communities. It was demonstrated by the earlier public comment by the superintendent from Cutler-Orosi. But in Early Mart, we have a real opportunity to have this project completed. And I know that there have been some issues in the past with previous award recipients of the contract, and we've been able to work through those issues, and we're now at a point where we're moving forward with a contractor or an architect that's going to put this project together in a way that's going to be most beneficial for the community. And like you mentioned, Mike, it's going to be done in 2016 instead of 2019. I think that's fantastic. I appreciate the school district's willingness to collaborate, and I appreciate your willingness to think outside the box to put a team together that can not only deliver this project on time, but under budget, because this park is going to be welcomed and needed in the community as soon as we can put it in the ground. So thank you very much, and I know that the superintendent is here from Early Mart. I don't know if she wanted to say anything related to this item or not, but I hate to put you on the spot, Sandra. My apologies, but if you'd like to, please feel free to make a few comments, if you'll indulge me, Mr. Chair.
Really?
Well, while she's coming up, one thing I'd like to mention to staff as I look at this aerial: sidewalks, sidewalks, sidewalks. Let's make sure we include sidewalks, curb and gutter in our projects.
Yes, sir. If I may say for the record, thank you. That is a preliminary schematic that was put together a number of years ago. The new candidate has some very positive ideas, and your comments will be noted. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning, Sandra Rivera, Superintendent of Early Mart School District. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I would just like to thank you for the support of this project in our community of Early Mart. We are an unincorporated community with great needs, and this is just one thing that we really have wanted for such a long time, for our children and our parents and our families to have a safe place to play and exercise. Early Mart School District is a strong proponent of health and fitness in the community, and this will allow us to have one area to make sure that our children have safe areas of green space to play. I want to thank RMA for being very inclusive in the process, for including members of the school district on the interview panel and part of the screening team. It was a unanimous decision. I was out on maternity leave when the interviews took place, but my replacement, Dr. Carolyn Curley, sat in on my behalf, and she was very pleased with the process and was very supportive of the firm that is being brought before you. So I hope that we can count on your support and in getting this project up and running and on a fast pace so that we can get that park opened up as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Washam?
Just for the record, Mike Washam, RMA. Just to clarify for the sidewalk issue, is my understanding that the sidewalk, curbs, and gutter are not allowed with the grant, so we're going to be looking for we know this ahead of time, but we're looking for other sources of funding for that, just to clarify.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chair, if there's no further
questions or comments
from public or board members, I move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vanderpool, seconded by Mr. Cox. Please cast your votes, and the votes are unanimous. We'll now take up the public hearing. Request from Resource Management Agency to review and accept the 2014 Annual General Plan and Housing Element Progress Reports. Morning again, Mr. Washington.
I didn't turn it off. What's the, there's no password, just. Sorry about that. Good morning. We're here today for the Annual General Plan and Housing Element Progress Report. Government code requires that an annual report is given on the status of the general plan, initiation, and the progress of implementation of the housing element. It's an annual report, as I said, and it's due by April 1st of each year. Highlighting our general plan implementation, now that we've obtained the settlements, which we are very grateful, now we can move full speed ahead of implementing the general plan. Measures that have been taken in 2014 in association with the implementation, I've broken them into three major categories. The planning activities have been initiated. We have 2 strategic growth councils, sustainable community grants. One of them is the Sustainable Highway 99 Corridor Plan, and that's looking at improving air quality and water quality, preserving agricultural lands, protecting natural resources, encouraging infill development, and it strengthens the corridor's economic development opportunities, as well as a number of other goals laid out in the general plan. We also have another one that is for our disadvantaged communities that will be looking at the infrastructure needs and ways to best address those deficiencies through our rural disadvantaged communities. Another program that we're undertaking is Complete Streets Policy Plans. Thus far, your board has adopted 3 communities thus far for Traver, Goshen, and Pixley, and we have 5 more communities that we're in the midst of developing those policies as well. That would be Tipton, Strathmore, Early Mart, Decorah, and Cutler-Rossi. General plan amendments during this past year. We've had Traver Community Plan update was approved last year, as well as the Porterville Community Area Plan that we just adopted a couple weeks ago. There's 9 more community plan updates that are in progress that have been initiated. We're anticipating that 5 of those will be adopted before the end of this calendar year and 4 into the next calendar year. Major developments projects that have occurred in the county: Pena's disposal, Pixley's biogas, streamline irrigation. We've had 3 more utility scale solar projects that were approved this past year, and 190 lot subdivision in Early Mart. Dollar General stores, as well as other commercial opportunities, are existing or being created in some of our disadvantaged communities that are underserved, and these are small scale if you look in the big scope, but for the communities themselves, they're very valuable to be able to provide products and services locally rather than having to drive to a distant community to get those. As well, we've had some rural health care clinics that have been approved this last year in Terabella, in Woodville. There was a major remodeling in Porterville for family health care clinic there. Those are some of our activities that we're undertaking this past year. And as far as associated with the housing element, we adopted in April of last year, your board adopted Action Program 9, which really was looking at infrastructure, mapping existing and identifying existing infrastructures throughout the rural communities and kind of pointing out where the needs are, and it creates a blueprint of how to go after funds and grant opportunities and where to prioritize those efforts. We've streamlined our permitting process. When I talk about the medical clinics on the past slide, both of those 2 medical clinics required changes of zone, which one we did in 53 days and one was done in 60 days. So that's with the legal requirement for public review of 30 days review, getting it done in 53 days with 2 meetings at the board and a planning commission meeting is really, I really appreciate our staff at the RMA planning to do these. Monthly, one of the other things that was supposed to be part of the implementation was creating monthly building reports. I think that the board is getting monthly updates from the RMA and identifying projects, housing, and all of that, so we're working on that. There's going to be a number of amendments to the zoning ordinance as part of the implementation of the previous housing element. There needs to be some a redefinition of family. There's some other reasonable accommodations, and there's about 4 or 5 amendments that you'll be seeing in the next couple months. You'll be able to come before your board. We've done a number of safe routes to school. And again, in the large scale thing, these projects aren't necessarily big ticket items, but being able to get children safely to school, not having to walk through puddles and whatnot, getting better safety crossings at the streets. These are things that are going in the communities, and they really have a big impact for the quality of life for our residents. And then, again, we're under the drought. It continues. It's getting worse. And we've focused a lot of effort at the RMA in obtaining drought-related grants, and we've the new well in Seville and the repairs in Seville, countywide bottled water program. All of these efforts they're not directly related to the housing element, but the housing element is about providing those services to the community the best we can. So there's been a lot of emphasis across the board because of the drought situation. I'd like to point out that the RMA is really making diligent effort to achieve a robust public participation throughout the unincorporated area. We've had a number of community meetings and stakeholder meetings. I'll tell you, just about every evening at the end of the workday, late into the evening, you'll see cars from planning staff, economic development, grants team will be in the parking lot because they're off at a community meeting. I would say multiple nights a week, continuously for the last few months. We've been out in the communities obtaining input directly from the school board meetings or community meetings, asking what their priorities are and identifying those and implementing those into our plans and policies. We've collaborated with a lot of nonprofit organizations. We've partnered with them on grant applications, and I think you're seeing a much more collaborative effort at that level for obtaining grants and identifying needs in the communities. Just as an example, on Monday we're holding a meeting at the RMA that over 17 principals are invited to, as well as nonprofits such as Leadership Council, El Quinto Sol, CRLA, CRPE, United Way, Community Water Center. So we're really engaging all of the stakeholders in this process. Also, just to touch base with the regional housing needs allocation, this is what we did last year, permitted units by affordability. You can see that we've 132 units in very low, 86, 16, and 21. That's the last 4 or 5 years. We've averaged about 250 housing units per year. Now, the housing element in 2009, when this was set up, it was set up for over 7,300 units they anticipated during the planning period. Well, we're at the tail end of that, and we've done about 1,190, I believe, 1,100, somewhere in that range. We're averaging about 250, 260 a year. They indicated that we'd do 900, which was, even in 2006 and 2007 at the peak, we were never even close to that. So anyway, this is where we're at for meeting the housing units. So with that, I recommend that the board hold a public hearing to receive any testimony that anybody has to comment on the general plan implementation or the housing element. Review and accept the 2014 annual general plan and housing element progress reports that are attached to your agenda packets, and authorize the transmittal of these reports to the Governor's Office of Planning and Research and the HCD. With that, that concludes staff report.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments by board members before we open the board? Okay. This time we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the board on this matter is invited to come forward at this time, give testimony. Seeing no one, we will close the public comment, bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, just want to really compliment RMA for working very hard to make a very comprehensive outreach effort to involve all members of the public and vested stakeholders and make sure that we have a very comprehensive and diverse element that comes forward. So really keep up the great work. And with that, I move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Mandible, second by Supervisor Ishida. Please cast your votes. Votes are unanimous. That concludes our open meeting items. We have closed session matters, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman.
Thank you, sir. We have items, A through G on your board's closed session agenda. I do anticipate an announcement.
Thank you.
Announcement of closed session today, March 17th, 2015, by Kathleen Bales-Lang, County Council. In the matter of item C on the board's closed session agenda, Malta versus County of Tulare et al., Tulare County Superior Court case number 258735. The board voted to provide representation to the personal representative of Jeremy Meist with a reservation of rights on motion of Supervisor Ishida, seconded by Supervisor Vanderpool on a unanimous vote. In the matter of item F on the board's closed session agenda, which I'm having difficulty finding here. In the matter of item F on the board's closed session agenda, the board voted to reappoint Kathleen Bales-Lang, the sitting county council, to a new 4-year term beginning November 8th, 2015, and ending November 8th, 2019. This was done on motion of Supervisor Ishida, seconded by Supervisor Vanderpool on a unanimous vote. There are no other announcements.